Yay. Did my screen freeze on me? Come on. There we are. All right. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 12:12 p.m. Before we conduct any business, I would like to recognize that we are conducting business on the native land of the Hahamanga tribe and to pay respect to those who came before us and offer a moment of silence. Okay, moving on, I'm going to share my screen and bring up the agenda right now. Call this meeting to order at 12:12 p.m. Before we conduct any business, I'd like to recognize that we are conducting business on the native. Let me close that. Sorry. Oh, that's wrong. Okay. Can everybody see my agenda?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to begin with roll call.
Mackenzie?
Here.
Chris?
Here.
Christina?
Here.
Louise?
Here.
Alex?
Here.
Jasmine?
Here.
Kelly?
Here.
Emmanuel?
Present.
Kyle?
Here.
David?
Here.
And I'm here.
All right, now that we have established quorum, we're going to move on to approving the agenda for July 1st, 2020. If anyone sees any problems or anything that needs to be adjusted, please let me know.
Yes, Mackenzie, can I strike item 6C, please? Remove it from the agenda before it's approved.
Okay. Is there anything else that needs to be changed? Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda of July 1st, 2020 with the noted changes.
I move approval. I second the motion.
Okay, first by David, second by Kyle. All in favor, say aye.
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 I, though.
Any opposed?
So Mackenzie, for the record, please do a roll call vote.
Sorry about that. All right, I'm gonna go by the order I see on the screens. Chris?
I,
All right, Christina?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
Emmanuel?
Aye.
Alex?
Aye.
Jasmine?
Aye.
Louise? And then David.
Aye.
Is there anybody I missed? No? All right, motion approved. All motion approved. Moving on to preliminary item D, approval of minutes of June 24th. I will share that right now with you. Oh wait, no, let me share. Sorry, hold on, I don't know what I just clicked right now. Okay. These are the minutes of June 30th. June 30th. Can I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I second the motion to approve.
That's first by Jasmine, second by Kyle, correct? Okay. All right, now I'm gonna go by screen of who I see, ask for votes. Emmanuel?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Jasmine?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Alex?
Aye.
Chris?
I,
And then I think that was everyone. Oh, Louise? Is there anybody I missed?
Mackenzie, I'm not hearing Louise answer. Is it just me or did anyone else not hear her?
It's like I could vaguely see it and then I saw her moving.
Louise, can we just have you speak so for the record so we can make sure that you're being heard? Okay, you might need to speak up or you might need to get a mic, like your headphones.
Motion carries with all in favor. Moving on to public comment on non-agenda items. Do we have any members of the public who would like to speak? And just note for any members who would like to speak, you have a limit of 2 minutes.
I'm looking at your YouTube and there is no one on the YouTube who has made a comment. I don't know if there's anyone else, there's members of public present if they want to speak.
Looking as though we have no public, we're going to move on to agenda item 3, introductions and board reports, starting with item A, board reports. And then we'll start with Alex, who I see first. Do you have anything you'd like to report?
No.
All right, Chris?
So I've been working closely with Carrie on transitioning clubs to a remote future, at least for the foreseeable, fall. With that said, I'm also working with her on migrating our board to be remote, which includes training you all on how to live stream and migrating all the passwords into one central account that Carrie can manage and share out credentials to. With that said, Mackenzie and I were able to successfully configure the live streaming controls today. But just so you all know in the future, because you all will have committee meetings, we'll have to live stream them as well, and I'll have to teach you all how to do that. But that will come forward as we go along. But that's all I have.
Thank you, Chris. Louise, do you have anything to report?
I don't believe so yet.
Okay. Moving on to David, do you have anything to report?
I had my first board meeting last Wednesday. I was sworn in. It was pretty fun. Didn't really. We passed the resolution condemning the shootings of George Floyd and police brutality. And that's pretty much it.
All right, thank you, David. Emmanuel, do you have anything to report?
I don't.
Sorry, just moved. Christina, do you have anything to report?
Not at this time.
All right. Jasmine, do you have anything you'd like to report?
No. Thanks.
Kyle, do you have any reports?
Nothing to report.
All right. And then did I miss anybody? Sorry, because your screens keep moving around. Oh, Kelly, do you have anything you'd like to report?
So like I think a week or last Thursday, we met with 2 representatives, or I mean their representative aides, Senator Portantino and also Assemblymember Holden, and we talked about ACA 5 and how we were in support of it, but we still had some questions about it, and also our push for the bill on nursing, which she was saying how it would most likely go by smoothly. And this bill on nursing is basically trying to lower the requirements during COVID-19. So those are the 2 bills that we talked about.
Thank you for your report. Is there anybody else I missed? No? Okay, moving on to my own report. I met with Dr. Olivo and I also met with President Erica to introduce myself to them and let them know what our goals are moving forward with the executive board. And I will be setting up in the future a time for you all to meet them as well, because I think it's important that we start connections now early on with them. I also attended a college council meeting where it was discussed about the current summer enrollment. We are actually on the rise for our enrollment rates. We have gone up 31% on enrollment compared to last summer, which is really great considering we didn't know how things were gonna go with enrollment this year. And that was the majority of what was talked about in that meeting. That's all I have for my report right now. Let's see, moving on to item B, financial reports. We have no financial report as we have no business person right now. Moving on to advisory reports. Carrie, do you have anything you would like to say?
Yes, so I will go ahead and talk to Ms. Sharon and ask her to send me an updated report of where we are. In your case, in your group this year, basically it's probably just going to be a grand total of how much money you have. And from there on, depending on what you need to buy, until you have a business person, Mackenzie, you're probably going to be the one, because you're going to be the signature on the account. So you're going to be the one allocating that on a budgeting.
Okay.
So the other things are, summer's a great time. It's a great time for us to learn and explore. You know, now's the time to start speaking up and you know, taking those chances, because this is the time, like there's no one at your meeting. and so we're going to practice. So I do encourage you all to practice on that, and ask questions. So we can be a little bit less formal, because we're all in this learning process, but please, you know, go ahead and embrace that. That being said, we all do need to be here on time. Your responsibility as an AS member is to this meeting. Everyone's time is important. So you should make it a habit of showing up early to these meetings, to make sure, and signing in early in case you have problems. That was me last semester. Ask Jordan, ask anyone else on AS. I had the hardest time logging in last semester. And yeah, so I made it a point to try and get logged in at least 30 minutes beforehand, so I didn't run into any problems. But in the future, please be here on time and ready to go, because you are also, it's not only your time, but it's also your colleagues' time. As we start going through these things, a couple things, I realized as I was doing the schedule, I did not schedule in a vacation time for any of you. So I have you all scheduled, as I realized this Friday is the 3rd. It didn't dawn on me because no one's going anywhere. But also I would like to throw that out there. If there's a week where you all would like to just take off and not have to do any AS stuff, we can look at that and just put that into the schedule. So that way everyone can have some downtime where they don't have to think about anything. I propose probably that last week of after whenever summer school ends. I did send you a bunch of things. One is I was testing out a doodle option, and it was sent to your ASPCC emails. So please check that. I'm just asking you all to sign up for a time to meet with me, and that can be done in the doodle. If that time is taken that you want, you got to move on to another one. So that's there's an open time. That's when you can sign up. Also, so that was sent via your ASPCC email. And then the other thing is I did send out some more information regarding stuff that's going to happen on Friday. Like if you got that email, that went through the Canvas site. I just don't feel comfortable doing a face-to-face meeting. I think things are on the rise. I'm not sure it's in the best interest for all of us to be gathering in the park doing that. So for right now, we're going to slow down on that face-to-face piece, and we will go on live stream Friday. And I don't think I've sent out that Zoom, but I'll send that Zoom out today before the end of the meeting. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Carrie. Jordan, do you have anything you would like to say?
I just wanted to say hi, everyone. I'm sorry I missed the last meeting. I was doing stuff for Flea Market, which is my other job. If you guys don't know me at all from the elections and that process, my name is Jordan. I acted as one of the advisors to Associated Students last year. I helped carry out with a lot of other things as well, including elections. And so this year, I'm going to try to be as available as possible. My hours have gotten cut a little from, all this stuff that's going on. So Wednesdays will be my primary AS day. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, Wednesday will be the day to do that, as all other days that I have are going to be devoted to the flea market and seeing how we can adjust that. Just a little bit about me. I'm a really big proponent of self-care and wellness. So I'll be doing self-care checks with you in the meetings, as well as through email and all that stuff. And so just that way you guys have a little bit of a rough idea. If you don't know, just my past, I was a VP for what is now student equity for 1 year. It was cultural diversity back then. And I was president for 2 years in AS before I graduated and then transferred to Cal State LA. I graduated with my bachelor's in political science, and I will be starting school at Cal State Northridge in August in diverse community leadership development. So I'm really excited for that and getting my master's in that. Just a little bit, a couple of things. I'm kind of like dividing my attention. Governor Newsom is giving his address on what's going on. As of currently, he's closed any sort of indoor grouping activities. So please keep that in mind. Any restaurants, any places that you can go inside. I would encourage you to watch the live stream after this, so that way you understand and are aware of what's going on. And please make sure you all are being safe. Carrie, thank you for pulling that meeting out from the park. I think that was a good idea. We haven't leveled out. We've gotten worse. And so I would just encourage you all, stay home, stay safe. If you need any encouragement, any tips or advice, I will be doing the time management workshop next week. So that way you guys can just get a little bit more of an idea of what it's going to be like during this another, I guess, what you would call sort of a stay-at-home order for us. And just make sure you all are eating, sleeping, doing all that stuff. Other than that, if you have any questions, I can give you my contact info. Carrie has it, and so does Mackenzie. But I'm so happy to see all your faces. I'm really excited to work with some of you this year. So that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Jordan. Moving on to item 4 on the agenda, shared governance discussion. So this is the point in the agenda where generally several of us will be sitting in on shared governance meetings, and this is the time where we set aside to discuss anything that people stated in their reports. If you have any questions about things that were talked about. I know I gave like a little bit of info that I heard from College Council. Did anybody have anything they wanted to ask about that or get clarification from? No? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item 5, which is action item A, acceptance of letter of resignation of the VP of Public Relations. As you all know, Albert Tran did choose to resign from his position of public relations, and we are going to accept his letter of resignation here. I just need to pull it up. And then Carrie, all I do is we pull it up and the vote, and everyone votes on it, right? Just approving.
Yeah, you don't even have to pull up the letter. You can just, you as the president have seen it, so you can just say he's tendered his resignation. So you're looking for a motion to accept his resignation.
Okay. All right, so having read his letter of resignation, of course, we're sad to see him go, but I fully understand why he is choosing to leave us here. And so I'd like to entertain a motion to approve this letter of resignation.
I move to accept the letter.
I second the
Right,
motion.
first by David, second by Jasmine. I'm going to go by the order of I see on screens for voting. Emmanuel.
Aye.
Alex.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Christina.
Aye.
Jasmine.
Aye.
Kelly.
Aye.
Kyle.
Aye.
Louise.
Aye.
And David.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All in favor. Moving on to discussion items. Our first discussion item is a timeline for vacant positions. So as you all know, we have 2 vacant positions. We have public relations and business affairs. And so I had a timeline that I had come up with of when I think we should put out our applications and agendas, but I did want to run it all by you and get your feedback and see if there was anything we need to change from that. So I am proposing that we open up the applications on July 6th or even this weekend if we can have them ready by then. And I am suggesting that we either close the application period on the 17th, which is a Friday, or the 20th, which is a Monday. I was just debating between the 2 of those because I don't know if those extra days we could be widening our pool or if it's just something that would be wasting time for us. And I'm also suggesting that we do our interviews the week of the 20th, and then we'll appoint our people the following meeting. Sorry, I spoke a little bit fast on that. From what I said, what was everyone's opinion on that? I can restate if I spoke too fast.
So you said, sorry, just real quick. You said from the 6th to the 20th?
Mm-hmm. Either the 17th or the 20th. I wasn't sure which date.
Okay.
Because one is a Friday and one is a Monday.
I think it would make more sense to close it on the 17th if we're doing the interviews on the week of the 20th for both our planning and the planning of the people applying. It would give them time to prepare for the interview, and it'd be like make more sense like in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we do have finals on that week, the next week after that. So
Oh, okay. Thank you for bringing that up. I did not realize we had finals going on during
summer.
Our finals on the finals are on the 28th, 27th, 28th, 29th, right? Or do they start the week before?
Or is that just me?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure when my final is. I have to double check on that.
Yeah, I have last day of class being except July 28th. So I'm guessing finals happen. I don't know how they happen during summer. Do they happen that full week beforehand?
It might be. I'm not sure. So I know from my
Are
class.
we still gonna have a summer retreat? Because if we're not, then I mean we could just have the deadline go past or go into summer break because it doesn't really matter.
Let's actually, Mackenzie, let's put that up as a discussion item for next week because I'd like to hear from you all what you think you need. But I don't know. I want to do something. So, but to answer that question, we could go if you wanted to hold interviews the first week of August. You would be okay. That would be out of the danger zone of finals. You could have it due on the 20th and then have that full week to look and review, 2 weeks to look and review, and interviews the first week of August. That way no one's in school.
Did we have any other discussion on this? Any feedback, opinions?
What's the process of application look like or interviewing?
Thank you for asking. So we put our applications out there, and once the applicants fill it out, we will decide which applicants we would like to apply. And from there, we'll actually be coming up with a rubric as a group on what we would like for this member to have. So let's say for PR, we would want someone who has certain technical skills. Like they definitely need more technical skills than I do, as you can all see. And then from there, several of you will be sitting in on these interviews with me. It has to be less than quorum. And from there, at the end, it is my decision, but I do want, since we are all going to be working together for the year, it is something that I feel we need as many of us sitting in on as possible, since you will be working with them and they're going to be part of our little network here. And following that, we will appoint them at the following meeting when we finish those interviews. And from there, they're on the board and we continue training with them. Carrie, is there anything I missed on that?
No, but what I would suggest is that to help you out is that maybe you look for 1 or 2 other people to create an action item on setting up the rubric. Or if you want to do it yourself, you can do it yourself, but you can also have, you probably want to have a smaller subset of your AS board below quorum to set the rubric and to do the interviews.
Okay.
And that should be, if you want to do that, you have to make it an action item on next week's agenda to set that up.
Okay.
Where will the applications be posted?
So right now, since we are virtual, right now, my plan is that we will be putting it on all the social medias we have. So meaning our Facebook page, our Instagram, Lancer Life, if we can. Then also, Carrie, do you think we could get a mass email sent out like with other departments for them to send out?
I think we can. I would say you can only pull that trigger so many times, so you probably need to have both of them set and ready to go. I'll see if we can. Jordan, do you think Michael Airy could put it as a banner? Do you know what criteria they put up to use that?
So you can definitely put it on the website. I have not yet gotten trained for that, but once that happens, I can probably do that since you all don't have a PR rep at this moment. And then, yeah, we can get it as a banner. I'm also thinking you might want to send it to a couple people, either Crystal Colross, yeah, like you said, that you might want to use that bullet for something else maybe. Or you can send it to David Steinman and Alex Bolkelhide, and they can make a mass email out to everybody.
Okay. I think.
Oh, sorry. If we're gonna send a mass email, could I like hop on that train and send in that like a survey, like a really quick survey, so we just get an idea on people's opinions on where they stand on legislation. I don't know if I can hop on that train or if we should make a separate one, because if we're going to make an AS one, maybe we should just make one, just send it out.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh.
Well, I was just going to say, I think just so you want to think of like the mass email things as something that's big. Like, for example, when the school closed, that was something that you want to use as sort of like a mass email, or sending out things like, hey, applications for an AS position, right? Because we need those filled. What I would do is, if you want to do something like that, try doing like the social media and like other ways that you might want to reach out, because the bigger ones, we can talk about that more. Me, you, and Carrie can talk about how we can like just effectively reach out through this. But I would just say, just for my advice and what I've seen, and Carrie has more than that, is we use those big ones for like bigger things. And I'm not saying that legislation isn't big.
No, I know.
Like, when you want to reach out to the masses, you want to do things like that. So
I see. Yeah, that totally makes sense. I just thought maybe like if we made an AS one, they could just all AS related, but I see how like that would be more emphasis on we need a position filled.
On that note, Chris, would you be comfortable sending this information out to the ICC rep contacts that you have right now?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Did anybody else have anything they wanted to ask about this? Any comments, questions, concerns?
Maybe we can create some kind of like bulletin board for the public, for the students, really, just to maybe be able to. I mean, because on campus, I would always look at the bulletin boards there, but obviously we can't do that anymore. I think those are very helpful. So maybe we can do something like that virtually.
I think the bulletin board. We can always see if that's something we can implement in the future. I know right now we kind of have Lancer Life that we can use as our virtual bulletin board, but I do like that idea that having somewhere to post everything.
Or what social media platform can we use in order to like spread the word?
I know we have our Facebook, Instagram, we have Lancer Life. Carrie, do we have any other social medias, or are those the only ones that we have?
I am learning as we speak. I got some stuff off the internet that other folks are using, so I'll go through these and figure out what other ways that we can do stuff. Because we had talked about, because Mackenzie and we had talked about how else we could let folks know, and I think we had talked about doing a subscription so that if there are folks who don't have access to social media other than their phone, we could snail mail them a newsletter, actual mail, support the U.S. postal system. But we're arguing over the chicken versus the egg. So if you have the ability to sign up for this online, then do you have the ability to actually read stuff online? Do you need something in paper? But we're going back and forth. Right now, there's no one allowed on campus. Really, folks are just picking up their books and leaving. So a physical bulletin board probably would not work, but I've also mentioned this to Chris, and I think this is why it's very important we get our PR person online, because I would really like us to create a virtual student union, and that would allow us to be able to post things on like virtual bulletin boards. That way people could see them, and it would be on our webpage. So it'd be like, I want it to be a carousel of all of the things that are happening. And that way people can just sit there and see, and that way we can include the Zoom meetings. So that's what we're kind of looking for. But I think let's keep talking about how this is going to be posted, because this is going to be your constant challenge all year. How are you going to get the word out?
Carrie, sorry, Mackenzie, may I ask a question? Carrie, are we going to have Lancer Life this year?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So I think for the sanity of everybody that's here, especially now that, we're still going to be virtual, and you guys are all of you all are going to be in classes and then dealing with personal stuff, what I would recommend is, Emmanuel, I think we can use Lancer Life and the website as sort of like a virtual bulletin board, because I think there are multiple like widgets in Lancer Life that we can use, and there's multiple things that we can use on our website specifically. That's actually a really good question. I'll ask Michael, is if we can have like a banner that changes. So that way we can update that with like any news articles, any things that come out, what AS is doing, helpful hints and resources that you guys might want to offer the students. And so I think that would be just for now, instead of adding like, now here's this, and then here's another thing on top of all the social medias that we have, it can get really confusing. And so I think we can use Lancer Life and our website just for now. And if we find out that that's not working, we can definitely like look at other options that might be better for that. But I think that it's going to be a really important thing to utilize social media, especially during this time. But yeah, we need to also discuss like people that don't really have access to the internet, and how we're going to do that. But I feel like 90% of the time, what we do is especially during this virtual time, and what AS has already done, I feel like that's we should just keep that for now, and then we can expand.
Okay, can I say something? Can I say something? So a couple things. So I want you to take notice of what Jordan did, is that he directed his question to the chair. So part of parliamentary procedure and just respect is the chair is the person who runs the meeting. So it is respectful to ask the chair if you can ask a question. Generally, the formal way to do it is that I would ask Mackenzie, can you please relay? I have a question regarding the Hahamanga tribe. And I would ask my question directly to Mackenzie, and Mackenzie would then please, she would turn to Jasmine and refer the question to Jasmine. That's the very technical and I don't know what the word is. I can't remember. That's the formal way of doing that. We're a little bit more relaxed. You just simply say, Mackenzie, I have a question. You ask the question, and then it goes out. So that's just a little lesson. Jordan did it correctly when he addressed the chair first, just so you all know that. And then Jordan, hey, afterwards, stick on, because I have the answer to that. It's the API code that we need to get then, that we could then put in. So hang on afterwards, and I'll tell you about that. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Did anybody else have anything they would like to say on this topic? Okay, looking as though we have no further discussion, we will move on to discussion item B, which is the Hahamanga tribe presentation brought to us by Jasmine.
All right, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Oh, I can't share my screen on here. Do y'all just want me to?
I just changed the setting. You can change. You can do it.
Oh, I think Mackenzie needs to stop sharing her screen. That's why.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to stop sharing my screen. This is the first time I did it.
If you look at the top, there's a bar. Oh, you want me to get it?
If you can.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, thank you. As you can all see, I'm still learning.
We all are. We're all learning together. Go to screen. And can y'all see my screen?
Yes.
I can't see my screen.
There you go. We see it now. There you go.
Okay, okay. I don't know how to play it or.
Let's just move through the next slide. See if you can do it. Oops.
Okay, so thank you all for sharing this space with me. Thank you, Carrie, for assigning me this really, really important part of acknowledging the land we stand on. So this is a presentation I put together acknowledging the occupied Tongva Nation. The reason why I chose to do Tongva, the Tongva Nation in general, is because there are many different tribes, there still are existing tribes. There were even more existing tribes back then in 1920s and stuff. Sorry, I'm not really sure about the dates, but acknowledging the occupied Tongva Nation, the territory acknowledgements are one small part of disrupting and dismantling colonial structures. I think this is a big part of also creating a relationship with the land that we're on, and with that, creating more of a healing aspect to it. Acknowledging the land is acknowledging the lives and the elements that were here before us. I think that when we talk about systemic issues and systemic oppression, it all has been set on a foundation through stolen land. And so acknowledging that the land is stolen is acknowledging that we do have very strong oppressive systems here that we are currently on. So moving forward, recognizing the struggle of Indigenous peoples. The Tongvas were enslaved to build the San Gabriel Mission in the city of San Gabriel and the San Fernando Mission in the city of LA. So the city that we are currently on, known as Los Angeles, was known as the Tongva Nation. When we acknowledge the land we are currently standing on, we are also acknowledging the colonial history of America and the white supremacist, racist, economic, and religious forces at play that are responsible for the atrocities committed against Indigenous peoples that came before us. So again, just really acknowledging the fact that we have been, that we are settled on Indigenous land, that we have pretty much like colonized the foundation that the people had before us is a really, really important part in why we are facing the racist issues that we have now, the failures that we bring together when we don't acknowledge these aspects of our history. And finally, in 1994, California recognizes the Tongva Nation as a part of history. So the bill HR 2619, the Gabrielino/Tongva Nation Act, talks about the state of California recognizes the Gabrielino/Tongva in 1994, stating the statute of California takes pride. The state of California takes pride in recognizing the Indian inhabitants of Los Angeles Basin and the continued existence of the Indian community within our state. Certified of recognition signed by California Assemblymember Diane Martinez in 1994. Furthermore, the city of San Gabriel recognizes the Gabrielino/Tongva Nation. And again, I think Carrie talked about being a little bit more intentional with our words, and Indian was definitely a derogatory term towards Indigenous peoples. Not everyone I don't think anyone identifies as Indian in Indigenous tribes. So that's why I choose to either say Indigenous or state their actual tribe or how they choose to identify. So that's pretty much it. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you for your presentation, Jasmine. That was very helpful to learn. That was definitely information I did not know before. Let's see.
I think it's also interesting to note the state recognition, because I believe the Tongva Nation is not recognized federally, so therefore they are not eligible for any federal grant and money. I'm not sure if they're lumped in with a larger group, but I think they've been fighting for federal recognition. So when you see like the Pechanga or the Morongo, they have a larger base and they're able to do more things. You see that the gaming and the gambling has really helped support those tribes, but the Tongva has not yet, I believe, received federal recognition. So it makes it hard for them to, think of it, if no one even acknowledges you exist and your whole history was taken away, where do your roots land and how do you manage? So I think it's important. I think Jordan's got his hand up.
Thanks. So yeah, Carrie's right. Only about 10% of the United States Native American tribes are federally recognized. 90% of them do not get any sort of reparations. They don't get any support. And those that do, they tend to be exploited by the federal government and by tribal leaders themselves. I took a class on this actually at PCC. It was a history of Native American in the United States, and it was taught by a Cherokee tribal councilwoman who was amazing. She taught me all this stuff. But yeah, so a lot of Native American tribes are not federally recognized. They may be recognized within the state that they're in, but the state doesn't actually have power to give them certain things because they're not federally recognized. So yeah, it's really sad. I don't know if any of you saw the 2020 special on COVID and how it's affecting the Navajo Nation. Basically, they're getting abolished because of this, and they have no access to health. Their diabetes runs rampant within the Navajo community, alcoholism, drug addiction. And so it's really, really sad to see how our Native tribes are being treated. And so it's very interesting. I have more information, more links and stuff like that if you want it, but it's definitely horrible. But yeah, thank you, Jasmine, for that. I'm really, really appreciative that you did all that.
I noticed first Emmanuel had his hand raised and then Kyle had a question. Since Emmanuel had his hand raised first, I'm going to direct it to him.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, and one of the reasons why a lot of these people aren't recognized federally is because they gave minimal options, and it were to relocate into these reservations. A lot of people didn't identify with those tribes, so they got out of there, and now that's what we call the barrios. That's what we call the hood, really. People who really they were giving them minimal option, and it was a racist way to place them there. A lot of people don't consider themselves Americans, so that's one of the ways that many people aren't receiving any benefits and assistance. Thanks.
Thank you for your input. Kyle, you had a question for Jordan?
Yeah, I typed it in chat. I was wondering what exactly the benefits are of being federally recognized as an Indian tribe.
May I answer? Is it okay, Mackenzie? So it honestly depends on what they apply and qualify for. But again, like Emmanuel said, it's not really a benefit because they don't get the resources that they need to become, I would say, people and humans. Because a lot of, like, for example, if your tribe is, if you're federally recognized, back when they first started to federally recognize Native American tribes, some tribes depended on a blood quantum level, and that is disastrous in itself, because if you're not like fully right of the tribe, or if you're not half of the tribe, you don't get those benefits. A lot of times, so it could be money, it could be things like getting a casino on your reservation. It could be things like getting access to education, stuff like that. But even those like systems that get put in place for benefits, they're not fully like what we're used to, right? Like they're very minuscule. It's like night and day. So it's like PCC versus a reservation community college, where they don't get access to proper, education. Professors that are there don't have proper education to teach Native American individuals. And so it all depends. Like, this is a larger conversation that we can have like elsewhere. And I can definitely send you some links if you guys want, of just, the history and what happens. But just know that things like the Bureau of Indian Affairs, which is a governmental agency, is awful. They're horrible. They do nothing to improve the Native Americans' rights, their lives, their living thing. So, but yeah, it's horrible. And I have a lot of, stuff if you need it. So I can just send it your way if you want it.
That'd be awesome. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Jordan. Let's see. Did anybody else have anything else they would like to comment on this matter? No? Okay. Seeing as there is none, we will move on to the next discussion. Actually, let me share my agenda again. Okay. Moving on to discussion item C, AS training. We actually have Alex Sarkisian here from last week's board, who will be giving us a little presentation on email etiquette. So Alex, do you need me to stop sharing my screen?
Yes, that's okay.
Okay.
Alrighty. Before I start, hi everyone. Some of you are familiar faces, cool stuff. Some of you are new, but my name is Alex. I am David's father, aka the last student trustee. And I served student trustee last year, which was great, and a very different role. The year prior, I served as a VP for PR. So in this presentation, I'm also just gonna kind of, as you guys bring someone new to your board for PR, just so you guys can take on that role and do that job a little better too. And I also worked in the basically PCC's PR office as well. So I got a lot of great experience with that. So I'll say this again at the end of the presentation, but if any of you have any questions about this stuff, like feel free to hit me up outside of this. So let me just share my life. Okay. Okay. Oh, you got it. Okay. So I'm putting a timer next to me. So please give me like a vibe if I'm taking too long or anything like that. Feel free to stop me if you have any questions. But basically, I'm going to go over design and communication, and we're going to wrap up. The biggest portion of it is going to be about email etiquette, which is really, really, really important. And last year's board made fun of me about it because I cared so much about it, but it makes a difference. So yeah, so just things we're going to be discussing. What is effective communication? What is your why? Marketing your why, email etiquette, and the 4 cornerstones. So for all of you, because I want to be an interactive presenter, what is effective communication? And I'll let Mackenzie start, and if anyone else wants to chime in.
All right. So to me, effective communication is being able to converse with another person and have them not only understand what you're saying, but be able to have a full conversation from it. Can they relay the message back to you? That's effective communication to me. Feel free to chime in.
Anyone else?
I guess being heard, like I guess it goes into what Mackenzie just said, like making sure they can reiterate what you just communicated back to them, and that there's like active listening, like even ahead, sorry, I'm like even like a head nod or like a eye contact or just yeah. That's it.
Yeah, that's a great point. So effective communication is not only you communicating, it's how you respond to someone else communicating. And as you can see from the beautiful stock photo of like vaguely diverse people, they're all effectively communicating. So there's this amazing, what's the word? Not abbreviation, just saying that flows off the tongue called ICTIP, let's just call it. And basically, there are 5 points you want to hit if you want to effectively communicate. So first is you're being inclusive with your message. That means that anyone can understand what you're saying, no matter their age, no matter their background. Concise means that you're not taking too long, because people will get bored very easily about things, and I'm sure some of you will get bored during my presentation today. Thorough, you want to make sure you're not being so concise that people are like, what is this person even saying? Professional, because you are all AS elected professionals, officials now, and you want to be taken seriously. And it produces the desired or intended results. So that's effective communication, what you're trying to communicate, and make sure that point gets across. And you can remember that with ICTPP or ICTIP, as just flows off the tongue again. So why should PCC, so just like a question just goes into like branding, but why should PCC care about AS? I'm going to ask not Mackenzie or David to answer this question.
Sorry, we know Emmanuel had his hand up for a little bit. Sorry, Emmanuel, you wanted to speak?
Oh, no, I just wanted to answer what was effective communication.
Okay.
But I can answer this one.
Go for it.
I think that, I think you're referring to faculty, right?
Just in general, like including faculty.
Well, yeah, we are the people who mediate the concerns of the student body to other students and also staff and faculty. And there's a mandatory fee. So that's why we should care.
That's important too. Anyone else? Why should PCC care about you?
They pay us. They should care where my money's going.
I love that answer.
And also because we represent their views, but yes, that too.
Anyone else?
I think PCC should care about us because we're kind of like the primary advocate for students, and so we always try to do what's best for the students and give like a student point of view, as well as including as many people and faculty as possible.
That's an awesome answer. So yeah. Also, I can only see like 6 of your faces at once, so I apologize if you're like raising your hand or like telling me to shut up or something. I can't see you. Just going forward. All right. But yeah, that was an awesome answer, Christina. So I'm not going to go too deep into this, but this is something that one of my friends showed me, just about, you know, communication and why people should care about what you do and things you want to get across. So, and the last point of ICTIP was producing your desired results. So in this case, so this is Simon Sinek's Golden Circle. So the things you want to get across are what you do, which in our case includes committee meetings, events, retreats, conferences, induction ceremonies, you know, things like that. And every organization should know what they do. And people should also know how you do it. So how is AS different from other organizations on campus? Make sure you're differentiating that, because some people might see you as a club and they might have their own, you know, what's the word, beliefs about clubs. So what sets AS apart, and like how is that done? And finally, the why, which is probably the question that like Carrie will ask you a lot whenever you're putting on an event. It's like, why does this matter to students? How is this making, you know, a student's daily life better? So these are all things I think to think about if you're having an event, but also I think especially as you're starting to get to know each other and trying to form your own identity on your board this year, I think are important things to think about, and also make sure that like you know why AS is important too. So best part. So why is email etiquette important? Why should your emails go from a regular email to an email with a little cute little bow tie on it? And I'm gonna ask someone who hasn't spoken yet. Louise.
You can go. Just to maintain professionalism, but also to effectively communicate what you are trying to say, so that there isn't any miscommunication, and so that you can also have a good relationship with the person you are emailing.
Yeah, awesome. Anyone else?
If this is like the first time that we are connecting with the individual, it kind of sets a first impression, and it also establishes a relationship moving forward.
Yeah, that's really true. So it not only, you know, is a first impression, but it also is a first impression to sometimes AS for a lot of professors and stuff like that. So it's really, really important. So why is this broken up? Okay, what the, all right. Anyways, so starting from the top, whenever you're sending out an email, these are different, you know, ways to talk to a person and stuff like that. How to start it off, how to, you know, be cool but not too cool with them. So addressing the person you're emailing. So if it's administration, you always want to use their title. So if you're emailing Dean Cobb, if you're emailing a trustee, or if you're emailing one of the vice presidents on campus, you always want to use their title and last name. So hello, Dean Cobb, or hello, Dr. Levo, different things like that. If you're emailing a professor, make sure you have their professor before their name. If you're emailing students, you can use their last name if you want. You can be like, hello, Mrs. Rivera. But you're a student talking to another student, so it might be like a little weird. I don't know. That's kind of your call, but I would say if you're a student hitting up another student, your AS, you should be a little bit more casual with them. But if you're in doubt, let's say you're emailing, a student that is like, or like you're emailing them, you're like requesting something, or you're emailing someone that's outside of PCC, or like in Kelly's case, if she's emailing like a staffer at like an office, I would say it's always a pretty good idea. Just when in doubt, just say like Miss Garcia, like something just like formal, because we all know if like any of you get an email and someone addresses you as like, hello, Mr. Ramirez, you're like, oh, like it makes you feel better. So it makes you feel like professional. So if you make other people feel professional, they're more inclined to reply to you and be like, feel super fancy. I don't know what this weird thing is. Okay, so the next thing that's really important, just to be clear and effective, is stating your business. So the things to consider whenever you're sending out an email is, I think, especially right now with what we're going on with, kind of like, don't be tone deaf. Something similar to just, I hope you and your loved ones are doing well, is like a general good thing to either, start off or end an email with, kind of just to like break the ice, but also be aware that you're like, especially for asking them for like something that might take a little bit more time, it shows that you're like aware of what's going on and you hope they're doing well and all that. And then the next thing though, be very clear, is the reason that you're contacting them. Just say, I'd like this flyer, or I'd like more information on this, or I want to set up a meeting. Just put that early on. I'm very, very guilty of having too much fluff in my emails, and it's really easy to just like write a whole thing. But I would just say, if you want to add fluff, put the reason for contacting them first. And with the reason for contacting them, explain any attachments that you have in that email. So if you've attached, like with the example below, you can just write, attach as a health center women's event flyer, and just get that across so they know what's attached in the email. And you can usually bold this if you want to. Why is this? Okay. So if you need a timely response though, there are times where you need a response a little more urgently, but you want to come off cool. So like this meme of this dog on fire right here, like everything around you is in flames, but you're trying to seem cool and professional because that's what you're learning from this presentation, be cool and professional. But the world around you is like ending, but you're trying to be like chill. You just end the email with like, please get back to me sometime this week, or get back to me sometime in the next few days. Just, that's a very like casual way of being like, I'm freaking out. But not saying you're freaking out, and not being like rude or anything like that. But if you are sending an email, you're being proactive, which is always a good idea, then, and like you need the response maybe like a week or more, you can just say, thank you again for your time, and I look forward to working with you. And that kind of says that like, thank you, it's not too urgent, but please reply to me. Also, I apologize if you hear an ice cream truck. There's an ice cream truck mafia in the area I live, so fun stuff. Okay, so also the things that are important whenever you're sending an email, and you've attached anything, this includes a meeting agenda, this includes a flyer, anything, unless you want them to edit that thing that you're sending, it should be sent as a PDF. Because if you send it as a PDF, it will be easy for them to print it out at home. It'll be easier to view on the phone. It just makes it's very, very clear, and it's just a very like professional way of sending it out anything. A lot of times I've gotten agendas, or I've gotten just different things. This even comes from like administrators on campus, not just AS. And it's like a Word document or something, like they just send it as that and they expect you to print it. So I have to like go change it to a PDF, save it back to my computer, and then print it. But if you make it a PDF yourself, that also prevents, I don't see anyone doing this, but that also prevents anyone from altering your document, because when you make it a PDF, it like locks it in and it can't be edited unless it's by you. And that goes with file names too. Make sure you're not naming your file something random. I said this story before. Last year, I think last year or the year before, there was the ICC banquet, and one of my committee members, when I was heading the publicity committee, made a flyer and named it like potato banana. It was something really random. And this file, like this flyer, went out to like hundreds of students. It ended up with administration too, and it was a file named like potato banana. So You never know where your flyer is going to end up, so make sure it's formatted correctly. It might be easier for you to just put something random, but make sure it's also a little bit professional. And then I'll send you all this presentation too, but there's a link here to a website that can compress PDF. So if you have something that's like maybe a big graphic or something like that, it's like common courtesy to compress it, because that means it'll open up faster on their computer, but it will also print faster. So if you have something that's like really huge, probably agendas don't count, but if you made like a graphic on Canva or something like that, it's a generally good idea to compress it. And then yeah, finally, as you're ending the email, just state your farewells and let them know if you have any. The biggest thing is let me know if you have any questions or concerns, just to be an approachable resource to whoever you email. And then yeah, check your grammar, check your spelling, address staff professionally. Professor Ramirez versus Frida, you know, you're not that cool with professors unless you are, and Dean Shelton versus Dion. And then, so highlighting and bolding. So you might think, Alex, highlighting and bolding isn't, this sounds like an infomercial. Highlighting and bolding isn't that important. It's just, I can read this clearly. You can read this clearly, but look at this. Isn't this 18 times clearer? Can't you, like, is everything broken down way more? So in your email, especially if you're sending a longer email out, consider highlighting and bolding important points, usually like the first sentence of emails, or underlining where you need to if you want to start a new idea. Yeah, so just look at that difference. And then I'll keep this brief, but if you're designing something, which I'm sure all of you will have to do as you take on a new PR person for yourself, make things visual. Don't use too much text. People hate reading. I guarantee you a flyer that you make, like the flyer you make will never be more interesting to someone else than it is to you. So make sure it's like exciting and visual, and just general things to remember is have a structure for them. It's called like a visual hierarchy, have like a structure for them. Don't use more than 3 colors if you can. Don't use more than 2 fonts, but also be aware of the sizes they use those fonts. These all seem very nitty gritty things, but as a graphic designer, these are huge things and things that anyone uses. And the biggest thing that Carrie will always tell you to do is include your resources at the bottom. So that means if you're having an event, just put on the bottom, like, for more info, contact Louise, and then just putting your email right there. And that's just like an easy way of putting your name out there, and being a resource. And then the Adobe Suite and Canva are 2 great different like softwares to use for designing flyers in general. And then also just something small, whenever you're designing something, this can make a difference. So good and bad example typography, good and bad examples of typography. So some yikes communication, some not so great email etiquette. So don't use text talk. Don't be emailing someone like you text. So this looks like I had like a stroke while writing this email, but let's say that I'm asking for the agenda from Dion last year. Don't be writing like this. That's, first of all, I'm scared for you if you're writing like this. But also it's just insanely unprofessional. But also don't be rude. So let's say last year I was asking Jessica for a flyer and she got to me late. You know, don't be passive aggressive. Like, hey, I needed a flyer 2 days ago. Now it's too late. Thanks, Jessica. Like, you don't need to be rude. You don't need to be passive aggressive and stuff. Just be nice to people. So some good examples, just very clear. So this is, I mean, you probably won't be doing this so much this first semester, but if you're getting something printed from printing services, just hello, attaches a spring welcome week flyer. So if you let me know if you have any questions or concerns, like boom, that's it. Just get it across as clearly as you can. This is an example of like an event I had, I think 2 years ago, and basically just breaking down all the details of the event. So this could be sent out to whoever. So just saying, hello, Mr. So this is someone who like worked at the library, but like I wasn't sure if he did. So I just said, hello, Mr. Simon, just keep it, you know, clean. Hi, my name is Alex. I serve as the AFPC Vice President of PR. Carrie Fuso wanted me to confirm the details about this event with you. So just date and the time, the location, for this event in particular, there were different like stations. So I just made a bullet pointed list of all these stations and attaches a PDF and JPEG version of this flyer. Thank you so much for letting me know if you have any questions or concerns. So just keep it clear, keep it brief. And other examples, so if you, for example, have an event where you're having people sign up and you kind of just want them to all know what stations they're going to work in or what jobs they're going to have, or maybe you have like a committee meeting and they're all going to be in different groups, just make it as simple and basic as possible for them. Just try your best not to assume things or assume knowledge whenever you're sending an email, basically. And I think this is the last slide, but also, so this is something I created 2 years ago when I was heading the PR committee, and it was like 4 cornerstones of publicity. And I'm not sure how possible word of mouth will be for you guys this year right now, but basically if you want an event or a meeting or anything to be publicized to as many students as possible, you need to hit all 4 of these marks. And I know right now, especially social media is probably gonna be like the only way. So you're gonna have to probably create your own cornerstones and things you wanna hit outside of social media. So maybe that means like creating a reflector group or a remind, or making sure that there's someone emailing all the committee members or asking Chris, you know, giving him a week in advance to make sure he shoots it out to ICC. So I would say create a format and be like, we need to hit all 4 of these or however many corners to effectively promote this event. And this is important too, because in this case, when things were not remote, you know, there's a huge difference between who you're communicating to when you made a flyer versus when you made social media. We have students here that are like non-traditional students that might be over the age of like 25, 30, and it might not be on social media as much, you know, compared to people that are younger. So if you're only promoting on social media, you're only communicating to that demographic. But that being said, if you're only making flyers, if you're putting up like 5 flyers, then you're also like limiting the people that will see that. So make your own little like guidelines you want to create, but also just the biggest thing is make sure you're not being exclusive with who you're advertising towards. I think that's it. Yeah, I try to go through that as fast as possible, but I will send this out to y'all. But does anyone have any questions about anything?
I have a question.
Mhm.
Do we use like a specific font when we are, say, like designing flyers, sending out emails? Yeah.
So I know pre-Albert leaving, Jessica, who's the last PR person, she made like an email version of a brand guide basically that had all the fonts. So Mackenzie, you can hit up, or actually, okay, I'll text Jessica and ask her to email that to Mackenzie. She can send it out to y'all. But yeah, we have, I think last year we set certain fonts we wanted to use and stuff, and new logo sets and stuff like that. So, but in general, the font to use is this font called Poppins. And then for agendas, we use Helvetica just for like the copy text. Any other questions?
So like I wanted to ask, like, in a case where you send an email and you need a reply, but they didn't have a reply back, what's the best way to go about it?
If you need them to reply back?
Yeah, like let's just say you sent an email and you asked for something and then they never replied, but you don't want to sound too rude by like sending them with email.
So I mean, it definitely depends on the urgency for sure. But I'd say the rule of thumb is give someone 24 hours before you send a follow-up email, just because life happens. I think if it's over 24 hours, unless something crazy happened, they've probably seen it and just not replied. So if it is urgent, I would say after 24 hours, you can send a follow-up. If it's not urgent, I would say 72 hours. You can just say, I sent it early, because then if you say that, then you can say, I don't know if you got my email earlier this week. I just wanted to confirm with you. Also, a really important thing is if you are following up, make sure you just reply in your own email thread. Don't send a whole other email being like, oh, I sent you an email last week, because then they have to look for that email. But if you just send it in the thread, then they can just look up and find that email. good question.
Well, Alex, can you give us an example of language for that?
Oh yeah. So if you're asking for a follow-up, someone hasn't replied and it's urgent, you could just say, oh, I'll check this out too. But like, hi Carrie, I asked last week about the budget for this event that I want to have. Like let's say, yeah. So hi Carrie, I was asking last week for the budget for an event I wanted to have. I sent you an email earlier. What are your thoughts? And so I'd say, what are your thoughts is a pretty good term to use and stuff, just as like a follow-up, because the initial ones can be asking for their approval, but if you ask for like thoughts, it's like a subtle way of like asking again. And then if you have a little bit more time and you're asking for a follow-up, I would say your follow-up email should bring up like a deadline generally if you have more time. So you can say like, hi Carrie, I sent this email last week and I was hoping to get the budget approved by next week or something. So kind of giving them like a little bit of a deadline. It might be a little bit scary to give someone a deadline in your initial email, but I'd say by a follow-up, you can definitely set a deadline for them. I wouldn't set like a time deadline, but just like a date can usually be good. So just by next Saturday or by the end of this week. And if they don't reply after that, I guess you can set a third one, but yeah, that's when it gets complicated.
Yeah, then you talk to Jordan or myself, and generally we will ask you to CC us in your next message. CCing is, I don't know what it stands for. Anyone know? It's just like you
carbon copy.
Carbon copy. So when folks understand at that point, then it's been raised to the level of my attention or another advisor's attention. If you put Dean Cobb's name down on there, that's kind of like the golden ticket. People then understand that she knows that you're waiting for a reply. People tend to reply. So, but we will just, again, you will learn about when do you pull the trigger on certain things, and we will hit, when that happens, hit us up and we'll have that conversation then.
Yeah, I am the king of being passive aggressive, not seeming passive aggressive. So there are a lot of ways to be passive aggressive via email without seeming that. So yeah, one of those is putting Dean Cobb in there, because then you're like, listen, I call the big guns, basically. Anyone else? Any questions about design, emails, anything? Okay then. Yeah, I'll email this out to y'all, but thank you so much. You all are amazing. I listened to it on your meeting and you guys are like already ahead. So great work, and feel free to hit me up if you need anything.
Okay, thank you, Alex, for your time and presentation.
Thanks, Alex.
Bye, y'all.
Let me just bring up our agenda real quick. But yeah, if you guys ever have any questions about sending emails or etiquette you should follow, if you're not sure if your message looks okay, feel free to always reach out to me or anyone else who you want to proofread your message, especially since we're still in the beginning of sending out our messages. If you're not sure if it's coming across as professional or enough, then feel free to reach out and we can check it for you too. Let's see, on that note, I believe that is all we have for this discussion item, unless anybody else had anything they wanted to add. Yep. Okay, moving on in our agenda to appointment to college-wide committees. We have none at the moment that I'm aware of. Moving on to appointments to AS committees. We do not have our committees yet. Moving on to bill acceptance. Kelly, this is generally where you would bring it up, but I don't think we have any bills to bring up right now, unless you have anything.
I've no, but in regards to what we've had talked about, I think ACA 5 was definitely something in our last lobbying committee that we were kind of like on the fence of, because we weren't sure of what the language was and what it really did. So if you guys want to discuss it now, or if you guys have questions about it, I guess in general, the consensus is that we are in favor of it because we are a Hispanic serving institution. And the language that the bill was implying was that it included, not implying, it basically said that like all minorities. So yeah, I don't know if there's any discussion that you guys want to have on that. Are you guys like you guys, or if you guys have any question about the bill in general, like what it is and what it does?
Yeah, I was gonna ask if we can get a little bit more information on the bill, or if there's an opportunity to create a time where we can talk about the bills and you know see how we can get involved in regards to legislation.
Yeah. I'm not sure when we're starting up our committees. Maybe I think it's like the requirement is that we start it in the school year, but I definitely can, if you're interested, Jasmine, I can like talk to you one-on-one, or if anyone else wants to join in like our group chat, you guys just like send me a message and I can make like a Zoom call. But really quick 2-second thing. Sorry, Mackenzie, go ahead.
Carrie has a comment on this.
Oh, sorry.
So my recommendation is that Kelly, you prepare a brief and you bring it back next week as an item. And it's usually common courtesy for you to send this out 3 days in advance to everyone. So the best thing is to send this to Frances Thursday night. So that way she can send it out with the board report on the board agenda item on Friday. That way everyone will have 3 days to review it. And then you can have a discussion and you don't have to waste time reviewing it because people should have read it beforehand.
Okay, got it.
So that's just kind of what you do. Anytime you have bill acceptance, that's the best way to do it. You send out a brief. Frida should have given you the format that we use, the pros, the cons, the detailed history.
Oh, I don't think she has yet, but
okay. Ask her for that, and that's what you send out to the board along with your commentary.
Okay.
Let's see, moving on to public comment on agenda items. We did have a public comment that Carrie brought up to me. A student asked us, how do you plan on reaching out to the new student flow? Since it's a comment, can we still like answer the question?
So under public comment, what you can all talk about is what your thoughts are. You cannot engage in dialogue with each other, nor can you engage in dialogue with the student. But I think she just has that question of what are your intentions and how are you going to reach out to people? So if anyone wants to make a statement on that, multiple people can make multiple statements. It's okay. That would work.
Did anybody have anything they wanted to say on this?
I can say something.
Go ahead.
So I definitely want to start implementing some discussions, or I mean, definitely utilize social media as a main platform. But other than social media, my plan is to utilize our Canva app and utilize the discussion posts as another way to reach students, because a lot of folks, even if they are on social media, with the way that it's set up now, it's really hard to reach them even through there. So to make it a little bit more personal, it's I would like to utilize the Canva discussion posts.
Thank you, Jasmine. On the note of this question, I do want to say I do realize we are in a new time and we are receiving a lot of new students who already do not understand some things on campus for how it works or how to reach access. And I do want to reach out to those students and help them out. So whether it's through our events, sending out messages, I just want to make sure that we keep everyone in the loop, especially those who are new and may not have that support system. Anybody else have anything else they want to say on this?
I do. I think for me, I've been thinking about how to reach through social media the current clubs that I follow and programs on campus, and reaching out to counselors teaching like College One courses, trying to actually find where those students are enrolled, and whether it's contacting their professors or counselors, as well as posting on our own platform, social media platform.
Thank you, Memo. Is there anybody else who had anything else they would like to say?
Yeah, I just want to go ahead and say I was reading an article the other day about the fact that a lot of students coming out of high school, their education plans have changed due to the pandemic. Most of them are deciding not to move out for fear of another lockdown or the fact that, you know, people have lost jobs and they are no longer financially stable enough to go to a traditional four-year university. So I anticipate that we will absorb a lot of that population. And with that said, I think, you know, it's pretty much our time to shine, right? Like they need us more than ever because we're going to have a lot of these students who, as Mackenzie said, are not aware of things on campus or services on campus or experience of the college experience at all. And I think, especially for my role, it's really important because a lot of students come to school to interact with other students and find other students that have the same interests as them. So my role as ICC, I think, is going to take on a higher role definitely this time around through this term, just because I'm going to have to find a way in place of, you know, everyone going remote for people to still be able to connect during this time. So I just wanted to say that just because I was reading that and I thought that that was really relevant to our time right now and our roles right now.
Thank you, Chris, for that comment. Before we move on, is there anybody else who had anything else they wanted to say? Okay. Seeing as that is all, we are moving on to announcements. Did anybody have any announcements? Okay. Seeing as there is none, our future meeting dates and times, our next meeting will be our training on July 3rd, which will be virtual, so no longer Grant Park as we have shifted to online. It will be via Zoom, which Carrie will send us out the link later on. Any agenda items are due on June 30th. And I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting at 1:33 p.m. Can I get a first?
Move to adjourn.
Or second the motion.
Moved by David, second by Kyle. I'm going to go one by one for votes. Emmanuel. Okay, I think it was Alex.
Aye.
Kelly.
Aye.
Kyle.
Oh my God, I was on speak. Sorry.
David.
Aye.
Louise.
Aye.
Jasmine.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Let's see. Christina.
Aye.
Okay, that's everyone I saw on my screen. Is there anybody I missed? All right, meeting adjourned.
Yay. Okay, Mackenzie, what you need to do is you need to wait a couple seconds for the YouTube to catch up, and then we'll shut it down.
Okay.
And take care of the last of our business. Okay. So that we have. Kelly, you're the only one that has not yet responded to the doodle. Please respond to the doodle. So that way.
I'm going to stop our recording
now. Yeah, now you can. Go for it. And let's see if we can end. Chris, how do we end the YouTube?
Go to the YouTube controls and hit the red button, end stream in the upper right.
Okay. Mackenzie, you have that.
Okay. Okay, hold on, bars are moving on.
And then you can also, after you're done with that,